Before 2023, Saxton Hale, CEO of Manco, and what a man he is, was relegated to the lore of TF2. This accurate depiction of the average Australian man was thankfully added into TF2, starting off as an impressive mod by the Lizard of Oz, who I recently visited to ask for a brain of my very own. As you can probably tell, he declined. In a summer update of 2023, Gabe Newell himself descended from his heavenly throne to bless us with the game mode, versus Saxton Hale. Versus Saxton Hale is a game mode similar to Arena, where the only objective is to kill the entire enemy team with respawns disabled. But instead of having two teams fight each other, you have up to 30 players versus, well, this. There are some other modifications, however. But before we get into that, my name is Voxel Obsession, and if you like what you've been seeing so far, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm painfully close to 1,000 subscribers, so please help me out. And I do have channel memberships, although I doubt anyone would want to pay me $3 a month. Right? Saxton Hale himself is an interesting character. There's a complicated formula for his health depending on the amount of enemy players, so here's a chart for that. His attacks are melee only, always crit. He has huge jumps, he speeds up the lower his health is, can always do stomp damage, can double jump, has a ground slam ability as well as the charge sweep and Saxton punch abilities, triple capture rate, 25% damage resistance, and finally, increased melee range. Got it? Great, because there's more. There are numerous changes made to the usual TF2 gameplay just to balance things out a bit, such as explosives and fire do 50% more damage to Saxton. Too much damage. All medics are buffed like crazy, are like 30% goes to always rolls attacks, and double longer range HP. Demo Man shield reduces 2% damage, taken 40%. And Natasha is 85% more useless, trigger the Razorback stun effect half damage to Saxton. Jeez, that is a lot of stats, but all that doesn't really matter anyways. Let's send this down under Ubermensch to some other game modes. I feel like this one has some great potential. Capture the Flag by its nature is supposed to be a very balanced game mode. Each team has a flag, each team defends their own and tries to capture the other. Versus Saxton Hale, by its nature, is very much not balanced. Which is why I think it would be interesting if we had the mercs on one team, desperately trying to defend the intel, whilst a very large man is desperately trying to steal it. The mercs would win if they managed to defend their intel until the time runs out, or if they manage to kill Saxton, while Saxton wins if he can capture the intel 3 times. I don't think Saxton should also have intel, as it would be complicated for him to defend and try to capture at the same time, and I think it'd be better to have the enemy team stacking defense, like sentries. Just so many sentries. Saxton does have some very effective movement in his arsenal, like his charge punch and huge double jumps, but having a very clear objective in the form of the intel, where his enemies know he'll be trying to get to, might just balance things out. I also imagine, once Saxton captures the intelligence twice, and the enemies start getting desperate, we could give them a mini crit boost, much like in regular versus Saxton Hale. When they start running out of teammates, they also get a mini crit boost. All in all, I'd give this incorporation of Saxton Hale into the Capture the Flag game mode an 8 out of 10. I don't imagine it would work very well on symmetrical CTF maps like Two Fort, etc. So you might need a custom map, and it might get a little bit stale and repetitive after a while. So I imagine you could make a new versus Saxton Hale Capture the Flag centered type map, where every time he captures, it goes to a new, different place, and he has to scramble around to find it, which might break up the monotony a little bit, but all in all, pretty solid stuff. So without further ado, let's move on to... I foresee this working only one way. Although he seems more like the type to simply pick up the cart, Saxton should be the one pushing the payload. Saxton, as powerful as he is, just doesn't seem like the defending type. Saxton wins if he pushes the cart to the end in time, and the defenders win if they manage to hold out until the time runs out, or if they manage to kill Saxton. Please note that Saxton Hale cannot be healed by the payload cart or packs around the map. The mercs will be able to respawn and will gain permanent mini crits on the second last points capture. Saxton's capture rate is triple, meaning he pushes the cart at the maximum speed of 90 hammer units per second, which would complete upward in around 3 minutes of continuous pushing. This would reward more of a knockback playstyle where you could focus more on stalling him by keeping him away from the cart with miniguns, air blasts, or sentry knockback, rather than simply killing him, although that would also work. Maybe he'd get some unique voice lines for this game mode, or a unique ability where you could, for example, punch the cart, send it flying forwards, killing anyone it hits, and boosting it past any tough sections or enemy defenses. Personally, I feel like this one just works, and that's why I give it a 9 out of 10 in terms of incorporation of Saxton Hale into the payload game mode. It's very thematic for someone as crazy as Saxton Hale to be pushing a gigantic bomb into an enemy base, and like it just seems like it would work, you know? But anyways, let's move on to the control points game mode. Alright. Imagine the civilian from Team Fortress 2 Classic, but instead of being helpless and harmless, he's 10 feet tall, very Australian, and banned from most wildlife reserves, and he'd be flying solo. Very similar to Payload. If he dies or can't cap all the points in time, he loses. But if he captures all the points, he wins! Yay! Good luck to the team that has to defend a bunch of points from this guy. I don't think the symmetric CP maps will work so well here, but maps like Gorge, Dust Bowl, and Gravel Pit would work just fine, where one team attacks, one team defends. But instead of teams, it's a very shirtless, very angry dude. And he really wants to stand on those circles. So, you know, don't get in his way. Again, when he captures the second last point, you could give the enemy team a mini crit boost, and you could give him a couple voice lines like, "I claim this point for Australia," or "That'll teach you to take this point from me." All in all, I'd probably give this one a 6.5 out of 10. It's not very much like Saxton to stand still on a point for very long, which is why he has such a high capture rate, but still, it just doesn't seem like a very Saxton thing to do, you know? But let's move on to a subset of CP.
Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her.
I wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a oh, we're starting? Medieval mode is a version of CP where you're restricted to your melee weapons and all of these exceptions. It would be pretty interesting trying to balance something like this because it's such a melee-focused game mode, and you'd need to fight the most powerful melee-based character in the game. Saxton would need to be nerfed a bit for this, maybe not be able to super jump or use his abilities as ranged options would be very limited, but needing to defend a castle against Saxton would be pretty awesome. Spy, Medic, Sniper, and Demo Man would probably be the best picks for this. Demo Knight and Sniper Archers would really shine here. Medic would have his crossbow and healing abilities. And skilled spies would be able to deal huge burst damage backstabs. The two medieval maps could be fine for this. As I mentioned, a castle attack mode in Groot Keep would be awesome, but medieval mode is severely lacking in terms of map anyways. And to learn more about medieval mode, check out my Medieval Mode Mondays series. But without any further ado, let's move on to I could see this going two different ways. Either you just drop Saxton Hale into regular man versus machine, playing solo against a ton of robots, or you could take the upgrade mechanic from MVM and add it to versus Saxton Hale. Let's take a look at the first option. Saxton Hale is an absolute unit, but I'm not sure he's powerful enough to take on some of the expert waves alone. He could still have some upgrades like damage, reduced ability cooldowns, movement speed, health gain on kill, damage resistance, punching speed, etc., which would probably balance things out quite a bit. An issue, though, would be trying to get him to actually fit in certain MVM maps. Another issue could be his inability to split his attention between, let's say, the bomb carrier and the tanks, but maybe it's a good thing that he won't be able to blow through every mission with ease. The second option would be to give the team fighting Saxton Hale access to the upgrade station from MVM. I'm not exactly sure how balanced that would be. It would mostly depend on how money is awarded, since all the upgrades do cost money. But since the game mode is already balanced around not having upgrades, either Saxton's health would need to be raised for each upgrade purchased, or just give Saxton access to upgrades too. Just dealing damage could make Saxton drop some dough, so Scout would need to play more of a support role here. Grabbing the cash, with the Mad Milk he'll splash, Saxton will crash. The Scout, he will dash, for with the Fan of War he will thrash, unabashedly smashing Saxton to ash. You need some MVM anti-giant robot strategies employed here against Saxton, because that's basically what he is, a giant killing machine. Stuff like Beggar's Bazooka for the Soldier, the Exploding Gas Passer for the Pyro, the Medic's giant shield thing, Heavy's Knockback Rage, and Spy's Backstab Resistance Penetration, stuff like that. Anyways, moving on from upgrades to power-ups, we've got... If you don't know what manpower is, I don't blame you. It's capture the flag, but with power-ups and grappling hooks. Let's remove the capture the flag aspect and throw Saxton in there. Fight Saxton with grappling hooks and power-ups. Hell yeah. The power-ups may make things a bit unbalanced, so Saxton's health may have to be higher to compensate. Scratch that, it'll definitely have to be higher. Maybe like 3 times higher. Let's take a look at the power-ups to really see why. Strength, double damage for all weapons. Damage fall-off immunity doesn't affect crits, but it does affect attacks that mini-crit. The vampire power-up. All damage dealt is returned as health. Flamethrowers and miniguns only return half as much. It also gives you a 25% damage resistance. Your max health is increased by 80. And grenade launchers and rocket launchers have their clip size increased by 50%. With the Reflect power-up, 80% of damage received is reflected back to the attacker, and your max health is increased up to 400, and every time Saxton attacks someone with the Reflect power-up, he gets knocked back extremely far. The Agility power-up increases your movement speed by 50%, increases your grappling speed, increases your jump height by 80%, makes you immune to fall damage, and gives you instant weapon switch speed. The Knockout power-up is very complicated. It restricts the carrier to their melee weapons and grappling hooks only, and their max health is increased depending on the class. Scout, NG, Sniper, and Spy each get their health increased to 300. Soldier and Medic each get their health increased by 150. Pyro and Heavy each get their health increased by 125. Demo Man gets his health increased by 150. But if he has a shield equipped, it's only increased by 30. It also makes you immune to damage knockback. Your melee weapon deals double its base damage and deals way more knockback. But Demo Knight is really nerfed here, because if he has a shield equipped, he gets less health. And your shield charge refill rate is decreased to 20% of what it previously was, 1/5 of the speed. And one of the best power-ups, the King power-up. It increases your maximum health by 100, it increases your firing and reload speed by 15%. Sniper rifles have 50% faster scope speed and charge speed. Uber charge gain is increased by 50%. You get a lot of health regeneration, and all of the effects, except for the maximum health increase, are basically like the soldier's banner. It's shared with everyone nearby, except the regeneration is only shared with nearby teammates who have power-ups. All in all, it seems like with a good enough power-up, it could be a 1v1 between a skilled player and Saxton Hale. Although I doubt giving Saxton Hale the ability to pick up power-ups would make anything more balanced. So, as I said at the start, maybe just giving Saxton Hale way more health is the answer. Also, maybe just like the knockback power-up, every time he punches someone, they drop their power-up. But anyways, that was my attempt at fitting these different game modes into Saxton Hale, or I guess the other way around. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a nice comment, please. Don't forget to join my Discord server, all that jazz. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.